So can we acknowledge just for a minute here that the Rescue Rangers movie, whatever this is already really, really weird, even before it does the weird stuff, just in the sense that it's like a gritty reboot of what was already a gritty reboot. Like, I know that if you're younger than a certain age, or if you don't do, like, as deep cut into the nostalgia stuff, this is kind of a weird thing to consider, because even the movie doesn't really bring it up. But, like, Chip and Dale, the Rescue Rangers was already a reboot in and of itself. Like, Chip and Dale, originally going way back, were old school Disney characters. They were, like, Disney's answer to, like, a Tom and Jerry, Speedy Gonzales, little creature fucking around with big creatures, usually Donald Duck, I think. And I don't know that they were ever, like, A-tier characters. Maybe they were, like, C-tier, but they were there in, like, the original Golden Age, 40s and 50s Disney canon. And then, as I understood it, the Rescue Rangers itself was something that evolved out of what was supposed to be a version of the Rescuers, because that, in the 90s, had kind of, like, a surprise success with its sequel. One of the first sequel things that Disney had done. And when that didn't work out because Disney Afternoon had kind of decided to theme itself after updates of classic Disney stuff like DuckTales had been, they went with Chip and Dale instead and built a whole other cast around that, and it basically worked. So I get that people are sort of weirded out that this is like a doing weird stuff reboot with characters, but like it's a meta reboot of something that was already a meta reboot, which is strange, right? This is already layers on top of layers on top of layers. Kind of want to get off this ride to begin with. In any case, this new version, which is a collaboration between a grab bag of in-house Disney talent, the Lonely Island crew, and in-demand comedy writers Dan Greger and Doug Mann, with Lonely Island's Akiva Schaffer on directing duties, that apparently came together kind of quickly after like a more straightforward reboot version kind of fell apart a few years back, right before COVID, featuring John Mulaney as Chip and Andy Samberg as Dale, part of the new joke being that their squeaky voices were just an acting choice and not how they really sound, and is indeed a genuinely strange creature of a movie. One part outwardly zippy, really kind of dark, self-aware, meta spoof of the washed-up celebrities grinding the nostalgia circuit in LA subgenre that it also simply really is. But it's also one part even more deceptively dystopian neo-noir showbiz detective satire in the vein of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and also seemingly not only in the same aesthetic milieu of a world where sentient cartoon characters and humans inhabit the same reality, but in the same actual timeline as Roger Rabbit, albeit now the present day, as something like a spiritual, thematic, and literal sequel to that, shot through with the same kind of gritty, grimy, Hollywood as beautiful nightmare dreamscape and visual sensibilities thanks to almost comically better than it needs to be cinematography from Larry Fong of all people, and a narrative mashup that quickly brings to mind a warped collision of, well, Roger Rabbit and BOJACK Horseman, followed by the realization that, Roger Rabbit crossed with BOJACK Horseman may in fact just be BOJACK Horseman, followed by something like existential epiphany when Will Arnett's voice actually turns up as one of the villains. If nothing else, well, I honestly no idea whether fans of the original series will be outraged by the send-up, even though I imagine it's going to be an immediate mimetic viral hit for the sheer amount of deep-cut animation jokes, sly Disney lore gags, pop culture deconstruction it packs into 90 minutes, along with likely a following of younger audiences who just watch everything on Disney Plus and are thus about to see a way darker and stranger piece of comedy than the PG rating would suggest. It's one of the most twisted pieces of family entertainment a major studio has pushed out in a while. Story-wise, like I said, we're in Roger Rabbit territory again, so the backstory here is animation in this world is actually just, live-action TV and movies starring cartoons who are actors. So Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers was a show. Chip, Dale, Gadget, Monterey Jack, Zipper, etc. were actors on in the 90s. It was super popular. Chip and Dale had an actor pals who disagreed about solo projects falling out and went their separate ways. Fast forward to the present, and Dale is a has-been slumming it on the nostalgia fandom circuit, and Chip is an insurance salesman who says he's happy, but not. They are brought back together when old friend Monterey Jack asks them both for help before apparently being abducted as part of a string of toon kidnappings, which they then team up to attempt to investigate themselves, ultimately uncovering evidence of a criminal bootleg animation operation. And if you can extrapolate what unlicensed bootlegging of cartoon characters would mean and logically entail as a premise in the world where said characters are sentient beings, Yeah, whereas in Roger Rabbit, the underlying narrative allegory was about exploited minority workers in Golden Age Hollywood and the raising of ethnic neighborhoods and the construction of the Los Angeles Freeway in 1947. In Rescue Rangers, Disney has produced a successor sequel where the working allegory is messing with our copyrights is analogous to human trafficking. I mean, you almost have to respect the brazenness, folks, you know? I mean, I don't know if I have words for how cynical and manipulative that is, and it's my job to have words for how cynical and manipulative that is. I mean, I wish the bad guys weren't so bad that this get to be the good guys, you know? Honestly, the whole movie is kind of like that. It's very dark and weird. If you've seen the trailers, you know that I won't spoil all of the weird cameos and stuff because there's actually some very, wow, I can't believe that's in there. But, you know, you've seen that the Disney version of Peter Pan shows up in an altered form as a character. And I have a feeling, given the actual history of what went down with the actor who voiced and provided the model for the Peter Pan and the Disney movies, it's sort of a notorious story what happened to him. I don't think that it's meant to be like a reference in this, but I think a lot of people are going to take it as that and find it in very bad taste. But yeah, it's for a PG-rated movie, the undercurrents and references here are really dark and weird and twisted, on top of what will be more immediately noticed of all of the cameos, all the references, the pop culture stuff. And you know what, in spite of itself, at least to me, ends up being a very fun, relatable, yes, hey, shocker, the 40-year-old guy who does this for a living found the middle-aged cartoon characters he watched as a kid feeling bad about themselves relatable. Actually very funny and touching at times. Believe it or not, the narrative actually works here with the two characters. You've seen this relationship before, but it works. And yes, in terms of pop culture references and nostalgia bait, it is one low underhand pitch right down the middle over the plate over and over again, but they keep hitting them. It is really funny. There's a lot of really good jokes, great references. All of the animation deep cuts, bad CGI animation, jokes about the Polar Express era of 3D and CGI. The plot goes exactly where you're expecting it to. The back and forth goes exactly where you're expecting it to. But for a reference humor movie aimed the way it's aimed, I honestly laughed like hell at this. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of discourse about the references and about whether or not this honors the franchise, which again, it's a reboot of a reboot, so who knows. I had fun with it. I won't spoil all of the voice cameos or all the character cameos because it's a lot of fun seeing who shows up. Yes, it's a lot of, hey, didn't expect to see that voice come out of that person. Hey, look, it's that guy. But, you know, I have seen the bad version of this. You know, put this up against, the Space Jam sequel. So yeah, 7 out of 10. I laughed my ass off at parts of this, and I was actually kind of caught up in it. What else can you ask for something that looked like this much of a, why is this here to begin with? So yeah, check it out.